Hey, Rachel.
Hi, Caroline.
Man, we've had a start today, huh?
Yes, we have. There's nothing short of adventure every time we're together.
I mean, this one was like, this was our most catastrophic.
Catastrophic.
This one was definitely, okay, great. Making sure we're recording because I have done interviews where they didn't record.
Oh, I've done that too. And you look over and you go, do you mind if we start again? And they've told like 7 good stories. And you're like.
And you were like in the moment and everything was working.
It's terrible.
The worst, because that would be what would happen today after what's happened. So I walk in here, sometimes I come in like a tornado. Like I was already rushed, I kept pushing it back. I couldn't get my stuff and my life together today, so I come in here like a hot mess tornado. Of course, then the dogs all stirred up, break the tripod, then I break this amazing antique of your dad's who was passed 2 years ago, and so it's like super special, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, we had to like sit on the floor and
cry.
I cried. You were almost in tears, and so we had to like go through it, and walk through the process of it's just a thing, and it's okay.
But it's hard to know that it's just a thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially with someone like your father, your late father, it's more than just a thing, because it's your tangible items of hanging on to his memory. It reminds you of him. So why does this stuff happen in life?
I don't know. I think it's funny you should ask that. I think there's always a lesson in like everything.
Okay, so tell me the lesson.
The lesson that I'm learning as of late is things are just things. And while they are incredibly representative of an individual that you loved or a time or whatever it is, things are just things. And these experiences, these memories we shared, like for me, I kind of, when we were sitting on the floor together, I fast forwarded 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and that you and I would laugh about that. You know what I mean? That was a bonding moment. And like, I was hurting, but I wanted to make sure you were okay, and you wanted to make sure I was okay. And so for me, that was a bonding moment. And I've just learned that a lot recently, that things can be replaced. And at the end of the day, things don't make us happy. They do for some people, and I think those people are incredibly unhappy really deep down. But for me, things don't make me happy. People make me happy. Helping people makes me happy. And so for me, that lesson was to, again, release the attachment to the things.
To the things.
Yeah.
How do you say your last name? I always say
Baribeau.
Baribeau. You're like a pinup girl, like
Woo-woo.
Rachel Baribeau.
Woo-woo-woo.
Oh, I love it. Rachel Baribeau. Okay, I always say Baribeau. That's
it's okay. The I's silent. It tricks everybody.
Baribeau.
Baribeau.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad had a really cool last name, huh?
Yeah. So tell me about your dad, since we're talking about him, and he's been on your mind. You had a really cool story yesterday, talking about your father and how when things go wrong and how sometimes, like, life can be a freaking shit show.
Yeah.
And all you want to do is cry.
Yeah.
A lot. You and I are criers.
Yes.
I mean, so obviously you cry, but tell me about your dad. Tell me about how he was with you yesterday. Tell me about all of that, because family is really important to you.
Absolutely. So I was with my family. I was with my mom and my stepdad. My stepdad's wonderful, came into my life when I was 11. And I was with him on family vacation in Jackson Hole.
Your pictures were gorgeous.
Amazing. I mean, I do it every year before football season to clear the mind, a fish, a hike, eat lots of things, visit with friends you know them for 17 years, spend time with your family, play cards, that good kind of stuff. So yesterday I went to the airport in Jackson Hole. I had my license. I got to Dallas, and my agent needed something, and I went to pull my license out, and I realized I didn't have it. So I started to freak out a little bit. And then I tried to call the airport. Nobody answered. It was a little bit later there. And then I started to kick myself, feeling irresponsible and stupid being at this age, and just thinking, why didn't I grab it at the bin? What happened? And so I was on the tram, and I was totally in my head. And
oh gosh, I hate it when I get in those moments.
And you wonder what you look like.
And you're missing everything around you.
Everything. You're missing it. And I knew I looked like this sullen child in the corner,
It's literally like your mind just zeroes in on only one thought.
Exactly. And I almost missed my stop. I was about to cry. I'm like, in public, this isn't, this is not good, Rachel. Keep it together. And as I stepped off the train, I saw this really handsome young officer, a soldier. He was in the Army, and my dad was in the Army, and we are huge military supporters. He gave his whole life to his military service, and my grandfather and my brother were also Army men. And so I always thank a soldier. Like, if you're ever with me and we see a group of soldiers or a soldier, I'm always going to thank a soldier, always. And I just immediately, like, I didn't have to think about it. It was a reflex. I said, "Thank you for your service, sir." And this big smile, like, came across his face. And I I couldn't help but smile. And in that moment, Caroline, it took me out of my own situation, my own circumstance of losing a driver's license. Yes. Come on, Rachel. Like, really, right. Was it going to be annoying and have to get a new one?
Yes.
For sure.
But it's not a big deal in the long run.
It's not. And so I was going down the escalator, and I just felt very in the back of my neck, just tingled a little bit, and I felt like it was my dad there a little bit.
I just got a wave through my whole body.
I believe it. He's here. I feel him all the time, and not to sound hokey or anything, I just do. But I felt him in that moment, and so I'm like, I'm out of my circumstance. I'm thinking about this guy. I'm walking to my gate, and never ever have I seen this. I look up, and there are military flags all down in front of my gate.
And just your gate?
Yeah, just my gate. Missing in action, Air Force, Army, Wounded Warriors. And I just stopped, and I had chills up and down my body, and I had to go to the bathroom and shut the door in the stall and just sat there and cried. And it was half tears of grief and half tears of gratitude to know that he was there. He was still looking over his little girl. He was still watching me. He was, just saying, Rachel, it's okay. I'm still here with you. And if one of those things had happened, I might have thought it was him. But when both of those things happened, it was like the biggest just knowing from heaven that he's still with me and still watching over me.
Do you believe in signs?
I do. Oh my gosh, big time.
Because some people think that's like, hippy dippy stuff.
No.
Tell me why you believe in signs and how you've experienced. Obviously, that's a huge one.
Yeah. All the time, I believe there's this old saying that redbirds come to visit you, cardinals, that they're a sign from heaven. I don't know where it all came from, but a friend of mine gave me a little poster and it hangs in my house. But we've always thought that. My family has. And so whenever we see a redbird, it's my grandmother, we feel like, who was my best friend. We were born 6 days apart. Finished each other's sentences. So I feel like that a lot. My mom was telling me about a sign this past week on vacation, that she was at a time in her life where she needed a sign, and she was really down in the dumps and just needed a sign. She was like, God, if you're here, just let me see a hummingbird. She really likes hummingbirds. She was like, just let me see a hummingbird. She said, Rachel, I kid you not, all of a sudden a hummingbird comes out of nowhere, flies in front of me on the porch, and she said she just fell out and cried.
I got chills again.
I know. And so we were on this family trip, and there's this beautiful...
It just it restores your faith.
Oh, my gosh, absolutely. There's this beautiful picture window, and we're all standing there talking, and a hummingbird comes and just beats its tiny little wings, like a day after she told me the story, in front of the window, and we were like...
Okay, here's your sign.
Yeah. I mean, here's God again telling you, I'm with you. It's going to be okay. And everybody might believe different things. For me, it's your loved ones are with you. Their spirits are with you. Maybe it's angels. The Bible says we have angels unbeknownst to us walking with us every single day. Whatever it is that you believe. For me, it's that I'm going to be okay. It's sometimes I ask for signs, and I get them sometimes too.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to start off with a little game.
Yeah.
I've kind of I just interviewed Stormy Warren, who's incredible,
yes.
And he told me he does this game. So what's in your purse? So what's in da-da? Yeah. So I'm changing it, so I don't want to totally copy him.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, well, actually, I am totally copying him.
You're a great interviewer, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
You are.
I changed it to what's in instead of so what's in.
Way to be creative, Caroline.
I really took it to a new level. Thanks, Stormy. So let's just go with so what's. Okay, so this is from Stormy Warren. I can't take credit for it. Okay. So what's in your purse?
Wow, my passport's in my purse right now because I don't have a license. So I feel like one of those people that's like, if I'm going to go out for a cocktail or something, here's my passport. I don't have my license. Credit cards, business cards, because I am a
networker.
I'm a networker.
You're a networking fool.
And you know what else I love to do? I think one of my greatest purposes on this earth is to bring people together. I love saying, you need to meet so-and-so. You would be great here in this business, or you would do this well with this person, or I think you guys would be great friends. And so when I see people take off and make those connections that I just, help them, that brings me a lot of joy. So business cards, a passport.
Yes.
Some great new lip gloss that I'm wearing.
It looks great. It's like a nice little kind of like purpley.
Yeah. Oh yeah, girl.
So nice. Are you using that lip gloss to kiss anyone these days?
No, but I'm hoping that happens in the near future.
Is that on the to-do list?
That is, my heart is open and I'm ready, but I'm also at this really amazing place in my life where I'm just happy.
That's the place to be. That's when everything happens.
Yeah.
When you finally get through all that stuff and just are at peace with it all, I feel like that's when like you're blessed. Because if you're looking for a partner to complete you, it's never going to work.
And you look at the people that don't make it, and I think they're the people that are looking for that partner to complete them. And for me, I have a career that makes me really happy. I have family that makes me really happy. I just bought my first house a year ago.
Which is awesome. It's like turquoise door. You have like, what is that? The Frida Kahlo.
She's my spirit animal. She's this Mexican painter, like most famous.
Why is she your spirit animal?
Because she was fierce and sassy and amazing and colored outside the lines, and obviously was a surrealist in a time where there weren't many surrealists, much less female Mexican artist. And she wasn't conventional. She bucked the system. She was different. She was complicated and deep, and all those things. And she was Mexican.
You.
Oh yeah.
So you're Latina.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it mom and dad or just mom?
My mom on my mom's side, Mexican, Spanish, Seminole, Mayan, Cherokee, Creek, and Jewish blood.
Oh my gosh. Dang, girl, your family's been all over the place.
My mom got the swab test. You should do this. It's $150.
Wow.
My brother bought it for her. You do a swab test. Your mom has to do it or you have to do it. And it brings you back a detailed map with every percentage of where your family's from.
Wow.
So cool. We had always thought we were Mayan. We had always heard and thought we were Mayan through my Mexican grandmother. But we weren't 100%. We did the test. We found out we were 11% Mayan.
Wow.
Mayan.
That's cool.
I know.
Gosh.
I know.
I love that.
So don't make me mad. I'm just kidding.
Well, I pushed you today by breaking your precious treasure.
Treasure.
Yes.
It's okay.
Oh, gosh.
Already water under the bridge, I promise.
Okay,
good.
Okay, so what's in your mind?
Happy to be home. You know, I just got off this vacation, and I always say this. I say the mark of a great life is when you love to vacation, but you love the life you come home to even more. And so there was just such a sense of peace of walking through my own door, stepping back into my own life. And I think whatever it is, whether it's a staycation for a day or you go away, I was away for almost 2 weeks. For me, there's always a sense of renewed purpose and what do I want to do when I get home? What kind of lives do I want to change? How can I make an impact? How can I change lives? And how can I just continue to live a really authentic, wonderful life? And so my mind is just so happy and settling in and peaceful to be back in Nashville.
What'd you come up with to how to live an authentic life and how to impact?
Oh, well, it's amazing. You should ask that.
I'd love to know.
Yeah. So I'm a sportscaster, and right now
you do so much stuff with sports. It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
You have a shirt that says football is my other language.
Yes.
I mean, you're like a dream girl for a guy because you're hot, you're amazing, and then you like speak about sports. You also vote for the Heisman.
The Heisman.
Which is crazy. We got to get to all that.
Yes.
You've been like on the SEC on the sidelines. Like you do everything, which is bananas.
Thank you.
As a woman too.
Yeah, no, as a woman, and I've had this amazing, wonderful, blessed career. But what we have right now, and to kind of tell you, there's an epidemic right now in college football where there's a problem of violence against women, and whether it be domestic violence or sexual violence, there's a problem, and it's widespread and it's rampant, and it's not one college, it's all across the land, and it has to do with entitlement and those things. And so I developed a 10-point curriculum because I want to be part of the solution, not just talker on the radio and writing and those things. So I developed a 10-point curriculum, and it's very simple stuff like, who are you away from the football field? If you were never a football player, what makes your heart beat? What are you passionate about? What's your purpose in life? And let me give you one example. It's not you. You're not your own purpose, right?
Yes, I agree with that.
It's very simple stuff like that, like how to treat a woman. A lot of these guys have never seen two-parent households. They haven't seen healthy relationships growing up. So I developed this 10-point curriculum, and my plan is to take it into high schools and junior highs across the country and then teach athletes how to do this curriculum and take it back to their high schools. And so we fan out and try to change lives at a younger age than when they're in college. So that was the original plan, and I'm still working on it. But a very famous sports psychologist, a friend of mine, vouched for me and called Florida State University, FSU, and I'm going to speak to the football team before the season starts. I just got the news this week.
Holy cow.
So I get to address an entire football team.
About your curriculum. And really, it's soul development is what you're talking about.
That's exactly what it is. It's dream development,
not just
soul
like
development.
Who you are as an athlete.
Yeah.
Who are you as
a human being? Because one of the things in the curriculum says, football will be done with you one day.
It will.
Whether it's for some people it might have been high school, for some people it will be college, some people it will spit you out in the NFL. And if you don't know who you are, if you don't have a purpose, you will end up broke, divorced, addicted to drugs, without a career. Like, the statistics are not good. So you've got to figure out who you are now. Start that foundation, figure out what it is, start that side job, get prepared for the next step. And so many of these people come.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Some of these people come in and talk to them so much about, stay off the drugs and don't hit women. And, no, I want to go deeper as these roots. And I'm no psychologist. I'm just a person with a lot of life experience. Mm-hmm. I want to go deep and say, why do you feel this way? What did you see? And so the cool thing is they're going to have me reoccurring visits. So the first time I get to approach them as a whole, and then I get to have breakout sessions with them.
Way.
Yes. Rachel. I'm like, me?
You're changing the world.
That's what I want to do.
Well, and also, what has happened to these people to make them this way? Because I truly believe no one is born
absolutely
with anything other than just pure heart of love.
Yeah.
So what has happened to them? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. You're developing souls.
Yeah. Then, here's and I know it'll say more than one, Caroline, but what if one person changes and changes his course of life and doesn't hit his girlfriend and gets, kicked off the team, and she has the issue of domestic violence for the rest of her life? Or what if one guy doesn't rape the girl and he goes to prison and she, and she loses her, like, what if? And that's what I know this is going to do. And not only the soul development and the dream development and those things, I believe it's really going to save lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you get into the soul and caring about the soul? Because that's a big part of who you are. You're very much in sports. You're very much all over the radio, and I want to talk about all of the outlets that you're on, because there's a million. I wrote them all down because I don't even know how you keep up with yourself. How did you get into soul development though? Where did this come from? Because I feel like that is a huge guiding light in your life.
Yeah, I think for me, the matriarch of our family, her name was Ophelia.
What a great name.
I know. Ophelia Estela Maria Cifuentes was her maiden name.
She's a badass.
She was a badass. And there's my grandmother. And literally we were born less than 5 days apart, just a couple of years. But if you ever have had that family member that, people don't even get mad that you're the close one. Like, people would always say, oh, that's Ophelia and Rachel, that's Opie and Rachel. Like, they knew that we were so close. My mom didn't get offended by it. She wasn't jealous by it. We could finish each other's sentences. She was truly my
person,
soulmate.
Yeah.
And if I never have a soulmate like that again, I thank God that I was known like that already.
She saw all of you.
Oh my God. So she was a bartender for 60 years.
How great to be seen by someone.
Be seen,
to be fully seen. Your best, your worst, your ugliest, your most beautiful, inside and out. For someone, that's been healing for me, to be seen, to fully be seen.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
A lot of people I don't think are
seen. And I think a lot of they aren't seen, and then a lot of people don't want to be seen. I think there's a certain level of vulnerability that you have to be present in that vulnerability as you get older. Now, when you're younger, you are who you are. When you're a kid, you're just growing up. You're an adolescent. You're growing up. You're a teenager. But I think when you hit a certain age of adulthood, you have to allow yourself. There is a tangible step of saying, I'm going to allow myself to be vulnerable and to be seen and to let you see all my sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so she saw them.
She saw them all. And I remember at Christmas, I'll never forget this, Caroline, she would get 1,000 Christmas cards. And I was like, they were just, ungodly amount. And they were from prostitutes, mayors, country stars. She was friends with Truman Capote when he was younger. She was girl.
How did she know all these people?
From the bar. She
went,
yes.
Everyone loved her.
Yes, everybody, and so she was like that grandma, that mama, the preacher that you needed, the soft tan, the stern hand. She had all these soldiers overseas that would write her cards.
So she had a little bit of she could see everything and everyone.
Yes.
She kind of related to it all.
Yes.
Had she lived a big life?
She did, and so she was what every person needed behind that bar.
Wow.
And yeah.
Gosh, someone listening to this needs to write a country song about
right?
this.
60 years. I know, 60 years. And she was just that person to everybody, that infectious,
and
amazing.
And no one would say like a bartender is your calling,
But that was her calling. Yeah.
Because she was in the most broken people. So many people go to bars. I mean,
Yes.
you don't have to be broken and go to a bar. But a lot of times, like, a lot of people are looking for something in a bar. Yeah. And she gave them that ray of hope.
That ray of hope.
Oh, my gosh.
She was home. If home could be in a person, and I've never put it this way, but if home could be in a person, she was home. And I even think about it. She was the reason I haven't put two and two together like this for a while, but she was the reason that my dad that just passed away came into my life.
Why?
My mom had me out of wedlock after her first marriage fell apart to her high school sweetheart, and I'm very open about my life in this regard. I'm not ashamed of it at all. And she had me, and my grandmother was there and was born. My uncle named me Rachel Joy, and when I was about 14, 15 months old, my grandmother had met my father. And
so your mom didn't really keep up with your father at all?
My adopted father. She didn't know him yet. So my grandmother met my father, David, and my dog wants to make a cameo. Of course.
Big breath.
Exactly. And so my
Okay, Decker.
I know.
Thanks, buddy. That's some good breathing right there.
You're going to sit down right there.
Okay, good boy.
You're going to sit down. You're going to lay down right in the middle of the interview.
Good.
I'm sure you've had worse things happen.
No, dogs are always in the interviews.
Okay, good.
And babies, everything.
Okay, good.
I like it to be really natural.
So she, I love that about you. She didn't know him yet, but my grandmother knew him. And my grandmother introduced my father and my mom.
Wow.
Yes.
And that's your stepdad.
That is my adopted father. So I was about 15 months old, and they started dating. And then my mom brought him home to meet me at my grandmother's house. And I was, like I said, a baby. And he said the first thing I did is I crawled up in his lap and went number 2 in my diaper and then fell asleep. And he said it was love at first sight. And he married my mom and then adopted me. They gave me his last name at 18 months old. He adopted me, and he had red hair and freckles.
Oh, my gosh.
That wouldn't have been except for my grandmother. She was the matchmaker there. And
now this is not your father that passed.
Yes.
This is your father that passed, your adopted father.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he raised you and was your
your
dad.
Is my dad. Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the most beautiful part of it is he never had any of his own children, like blood children. So if not for my grandmother, and if not for that, like, he would have died alone. Like, he would have not had anybody to pass on his name, and he wouldn't have had me, and I wouldn't have had him, you know. And adoption is such a beautiful, powerful thing.
It is.
And so I thank God for him. I thank God that, you know, as a young man, and as, you know,
he wasn't afraid.
He wasn't afraid to take on a baby that wasn't his, you know, that didn't look anything like him. You know, he didn't care about any of that. He loved my mom and he loved me, and we were a package deal.
Oh, man.
I know, right? Lots of tears.
How amazing.
Happy tears. And I'm so thankful for him. And when they got divorced when I was about 9, and, you know, he could have just sent a check and just sent a check until I was 18 and then just been done with it. We never left each other. Like, we never faltered ever. Like, ever. He was my dad. Wow. He's my pops. Like, I don't know how to explain it to anybody other than to say he was my father.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Wow.
Yeah. And that came from my grandmother. And so it never would have been had not been for my grandmother behind a bar.
Can you even believe that? Ophelia.
I know.
What a woman.
I know. She would have loved you. She would have eaten you up. She'd been like, you bring her over here again.
I love sassy women like that. Just feisty.
Oh, you would have loved her. We would have gone shopping. We would have gone out and had a cocktail. She loved to juke. She called it juking.
Dancing?
She loved to dance. Oh, my gosh. She would have loved you.
Oh, man. What a family.
Yeah. I'm a character by nature.
I love it. So you really do have a soft spot for adoption. So
I do.
I that's been on my mind lately. I feel like I have a lot of friends who are adopting. It's kind of becoming more known now. Like, I feel like maybe when I was growing up, I didn't know so many adopted people, but now it's really, I feel like a lot of people are realizing what an amazing way to get your children, you know, because it's not, your children are your children. It doesn't matter where they come from.
Yeah, and for me, I think my dad laid that foundation in me. And so it's been a calling on my life. I think for about 7 years, I've really recognized it, and I've been talking to God about it. And I haven't been in a place here, and I wasn't there.
Because you just moved to Nashville.
I just moved to Nashville, and so before, when I was going through my head about this in my heart, I didn't own a home. I was a vagabond sportscaster. I didn't know where I was going and what I was doing. And when I bought this house, it was really kind of the start of that dream. And I've been to the meetings and been to a couple of meetings, and I actually start my path classes and my home study in 2017, and whether I get them in 2017, it might be 2018. But
we want a couple.
I want a set of siblings. I feel
You're
called.
prepared to do this as a single mom. How amazing are you?
I am terrified, but I know it is my calling. I think anything you're called to do in life, if it doesn't scare the crap out of you, then it's not that. You know what I mean? Like I has totally to
agree.
Be that. Like
your calling is your calling.
It's your calling, and so I have always felt called for a set of siblings to keep a set together, to keep a family bond together, but to and I've also been called for like somewhere in the age of like 8 to 18.
Wow.
I don't feel called for babies.
Wow.
I feel like I still will get married and have babies. But I don't, and I've had people call, a lot of coaches' wives and different people that know my heart, my journey, and they've called about babies, and I'm like, I know other people. And we push you on to them.
So
and
you
maybe
have a clear picture.
Yeah, I have a clear picture, and I don't care what ethnicity they are. I have no cares about that. I finally got my parents on board. They obviously want me to go the traditional role, but I finally got them on board, and they're behind me 100%, and so it's a good thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh, you're amazing. We took a little pause.
We did.
Okay.
For dogs and things.
Lots of things. So you have hosted on Fox Sports, ESPN, CBS Sports, Yahoo, SiriusXM, ACME Radio. You are a sports editor, sports radio talk show host, sideline reporter, internet anchor, field reporter, host of the college football playoff national championship. You also, in 2015, bestowed a Heisman Vote from the Heisman Trust. And you've covered the SEC and college football for over 10 years. Let's talk about, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So just break it all down for me. And you're the host on ACME Radio Live, which is so awesome. It's a lifestyle. So tell me about everything.
When you
read, how do you do all that?
And I also have a boutique with my mom, which is hilarious.
Yes.
The Joyful Fashionista. Just got a website, thejoyfulfashionista.com.
Love all your stuff.
With your mom, which is really cool. But when you're reading that, I was going, it's almost surreal sometimes when people read, my accomplishments, because I just have been working, like keeping my nose to the grindstone, and being a woman in this industry. You just have to work hard. There's no,
Has it been hard being a woman in
the been very hard.
Sports industry?
It's been very hard.
Why?
But the rewards outweigh the hard times, and that's what you work for, the relationships. For me, my job, life is about relationships, but my job in sports and getting to help people tell their story and being that conduit and having those relationships and having people trust you enough to tell their stories, that's one of the most amazing things about it. But it is hard because there are still people that will never accept you just because you're a woman.
Because they just don't think you can know about football
because
you're a girl.
Yes. And there are still fans that feel that way. There are still executives that feel there are some positions that a woman can't hold. There are still people that think that. And there are some people within the industry, people you work with that have been over the years really nice to me, and then the red light went on and they talked down to me on the air. They quizzed me, and they ended up looking like a fool themselves because I had so much prep work and knowledge. Like I remember it was one of my first jobs, and I had a 3-ring binder, and I had hole punched, and I had been prepping for like weeks. Every game I would prep, and like I had an Auburn section and their opponent section and a head-to-head section and a coaches section. So and it was like bullet pointed, like all these facts and stories. And so this person acted like that, and other people noticed, but I just kept, barreling back facts at him and knowledge. And one day maybe I'll tell him. He has a daughter now. But if not, that's okay. Because
why do you think people are like that to women in the sports industry?
Yeah, I think it's his own insecurities. I think when you are ugly to people, it is not a reflection of them. It is a reflection of what's going on in your life. And I always think this, hurt people hurt people.
Totally.
And so I could have over the years chosen to call him out. I could have said it to him 1,000 times. I know him, and he's called me for advice and help and things over the years. And I could have said, you know what, you were a real big jerk to me. But I've just always chosen to act in love and to walk in love. And I'm not always perfect at that, but I've learned over the years that if you give grace and give mercy in return for people's spite and anger and bitterness, you're the one that really wins. And when you forgive, you win. You set yourself free. It's not even about the other person. And I think the hardest thing to do
when
is...
you're right. It's the other person's struggle.
Exactly.
That you can't be ugly to someone if you're not feeling ugly inside.
Exactly. And I think for me, Carolyn, I think the hardest thing to do is forgive people that haven't asked for forgiveness. But you just got to let it go and move forward.
Even if they don't change.
Yeah. Even if they never change. So one of the other things I do is I mentor young women.
What?
I'm a sportscasting coach.
Wow.
And so I have right now four women underneath my wing right now that are current clients, but I've mentored almost 20 in 3 years. And everything from on camera to radio to writing to branding to what you look like to all these different things. And I'm kind of a big sister, drill sergeant coach, those types of things. And I think it's because I never had a female role model that was in sports that I could speak to and tangibly touch and ask questions. I only had men, and I made a lot of mistakes. And so I want to help them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is it like being on the sidelines, being in the middle of all these football games, being this woman in the middle of all this? How did you learn to love football anyway?
Yeah.
Like, what is that feeling like when you're just like in the middle of a game?
Elation. I mean, your hair stands up on end, and you can literally feel the emotion. You can feel I call it old lady momentum switching back and forth between the teams. You can see it playing out. You can see the blood, sweat, tears, how hard they've worked. The heartbreak is really hard to watch the kids that don't win, crying on the sidelines, and the coaches. Because you often forget that there has to be a winner and a loser, in a game. And I always said the minute that I stopped getting like chill bumps during the national anthem, when you stand up and put your hand over your heart, like the moment that is just like blasé, like, then I'll quit. I'll hang it up. Like from the moment that I stop being in wonder and amazement and passionate, like then somebody else needs to take my place.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you want to feel that fire?
Yes, about everything. If I don't feel that fire about a mate or about a cause or about a job or an assignment, then it's not for me. I just know it.
You want to live passionately.
I've set lovers or ex-boyfriends free, if you will, and because I knew that for one reason or another, like I wasn't for him or he wasn't for me, and we could have kept going and and
made it work.
But
it's not, if you're not going to live on fire, why live, right?
Why live?
So tell me about your journey. How did you get into sports broadcasting? How did you become this person that you are that's all over every outlet talking about sports and football? It's mainly college football, right?
Yeah, that's my
your
passion. That's what I'm most passionate about. That's my forte. If I had a plate, it'd be my meat.
That's your meat on your plate. What was your journey? How did it lead you here?
2 brothers that played everything: football, baseball, basketball, archery, tennis, swimming, BMX, bike racing. My mom was like super mom.
Hang in there athletic.
Right?
Yeah.
And so 2 brothers that did that. A grandmother who loved the Falcons and the Braves and Auburn, a dad who loved football, and then a stepdad who came along when I was about 11 or 12 and actually slowed down the game, slowed down the VHS tape. I'm dating myself. And they explained the game to me. And so I thought for a little bit I want to be a general assignment reporter, but I realized I could not do house fires and car wrecs. I'm way too emotional.
You wanted to be a what?
General assignment. So I thought maybe I just wanted to go be an anchor
or
a news
too
reporter.
Emotional.
Girl,
me too.
It would never would have worked.
You gotta keep it. You can't get into all that stuff.
Every night I would be in the closet at work crying like somebody got stabbed last night.
You're supposed to report
and you're supposed to report about it, and then they cry, and then you would cry, and it would just be terrible. It would never have worked.
Yeah, you're too emotional. I love that.
And
I love that you're emotional. I am too.
No, and the probably the fun when I really knew that was I was an undercover reporter for our campus TV station in college, and there was a hate group, and it was like a white supremacist group, and I went to my producer and I was like, I want to go undercover and report on it, and he was like, Rachel, he was like, look at you. He was like, you're everything they don't like. He's like, there's no way you could go do this undercover. He was like, you're like a mutt. And I mean that in the best possible way. You can't do that. So I did as fate would have it, I did a baseball interview in college. And I swear, Caroline, the clouds parted and like the sun shone through. It was my aha moment, as Oprah calls it, where I went, this is what I want to do. And I did it. And I created a little sports show, and I went on the sideline and I started interviewing coaches, and I've never looked back. I was 20 years old, and I've never looked back.
You're a creator. You're not scared to get your hands dirty and just make stuff happen.
And I'm not scared to fail either.
How did you learn that mentality? I feel like a lot of people don't start on their dream or their calling because they're so afraid that it might not work out. But the thing is, like, your calling is specific to you. So
absolutely.
You can look to people for advice and an example, but at the end of the day, you have to at some point trust yourself.
I think people get dull to life. And I think people are lulled into normalcy or just accepting where they are. And they have these big dreams of creating this job or creating this company or doing this or going here. And then they just start to accept day by day. They accept, where they are, their four walls, and they accept the life, and they're hamstrung by fear. And I think those are the people.
What's the fear?
The fear of failure. I had a girl tell me one time, so I used to live out in Jackson Hole and moved out there by myself when I was 20 and kept going back and forth and almost never came back to be a sportscaster. I almost stayed there. I don't know what I would have done. It was kind of sliding doors with Gwyneth Paltrow, that movie.
Yeah,
I don't know where I'd be or what would have happened. I'm sure it would have been a cool life. Yeah. But I came back, and she said to me, she was like, I just don't know how you did it going out there all by yourself. Like, I'm just so afraid. And this girl is still where I'm from and never left. And that's great for her. And that's wonderful for her life. But she was hamstrung by fear, too afraid.
People just get so comfortable. Because, like, the thing is, and we're of the same mentality, like, once you just get into the big middle of life, once you just start doing stuff, like once you've lived through failures, once you've lived through successes, you kind of start realizing nothing's a failure, nothing's a success. If a door closes and you're following your heart, another one's coming that's better.
Exactly.
And so there's really nothing to fear. But you kind of have to throw yourself into that cycle.
You do.
Of life.
You just have to go for it. And I am just a human being that I color outside the lines. They broke the mold. Poor God broke the mold when he made me. And I'm like, whoever gets me, like, as a life partner and a husband, like,
is gonna be lucky.
Thank you, but he's gonna laugh every day, because I laugh at myself. But I'm a handful, but I'm totally worth it. Have a lot of redeeming qualities.
You also are very self-aware of yourself. Yeah. Like, I feel like you've spent a lot of time really working on your person.
Yeah.
I feel like another thing that often I've seen with people is they sort of just become whatever life has made them.
Yeah.
Instead of really being intentional about who they want to be, which I think all stems from your calling and your purpose from within. Mm-hmm. So where did you get that drive? Just from your family? Like, your family's so passionate. You just always knew you had to live.
It's interesting you asked that. For me, I think it's in my cellular. It is from my family, but it's who I am. Like, down in the very bottom of my soul, I am a thinker, a doer, an actor, a leader. You put me in a group of people, and sometimes every once in a while, I chuckle at myself, a little bit embarrassed about it, but I'm like, people might be lollygagging, not know where to go. I'm like, this way, come this way, and it's just who I am in my DNA. But my family, they're all very passionate. My mom, an amazing businesswoman and very smart and a great marketeer. My grandmother was a hard worker. My dad was a hard worker.
Nobody let fear run the show.
Nobody let fear run the show. And then I think they also, what I want to do for these kids that I adopt, they also just made me feel like I could do anything I wanted to do in the world.
And you can.
And I can, and I have. And they still listen to every one of my radio shows 10 plus years in to my career. And so for me, I think that passion, I know that so I have to tell you this story. So this had all happened yesterday on the plane with losing my license and feeling my dad. And I'm just kind of an emotional all over the place, all over the spectrum. And it's dark, so I'm crying. I'm crying on this plane and trying to, like, wiping my, tears with my flannel shirt. And I just had this sense of, I was looking out at at Dallas, and I just looked out and I was like, somewhere my kids are out there, and they don't know me yet, but they know I'm coming. Like, somewhere in the deepest recesses of their soul, they know that they're not going to age out of foster care. That they're going to get out of that foster home. That somebody is coming for them.
Stop. And it was. Sorry, you make me cry.
I know.
You have a knowing that this is in your destiny.
I know that and here's the funny part of it. Every single time I throw a monkey wrench in the plan and tell God I can't do it, he presents a solution, like a nanny. I have somebody who stepped up to be a nanny that will help me because I travel a lot. Every single time there's been I can't do that, there's been a solution to it.
And an easy one that falls in your lap. It always is like that when it's supposed to be.
He is literally begging me to step into my calling. I mean, and not
so you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
And it's going to change you. And how awesome, though, that you know it's your calling, because you know when you get these kids that they are your kids. You have been praying for them. You've been thinking about them. They've been on your mind.
Yeah,
I can't wait to meet them.
Oh, and I can't wait for you to. I have some friends that are musicians in Third Day, and they used a service, Bethany Christian service, and that's who I'm going through. And it is literally like a matchmaking process. Like it is like you matchmake with your kids. So you go meet them one time, and then the next time you spend the day with them, and then the next time they spend the night with you, and then you correspond for like 6 weeks, and then they come to your house, and then there is even a trial period. Then there's therapy for them, and there's support groups for me. So we never get left alone. But there is a point where they say, "Do you love her, and do you want to stay with her?" And
so they get the option to say no.
Yeah, and so right. If for some reason it gets extreme and it's not a fit, 6 weeks in, then we can part ways. But they do everything they can. I love this service to not have any more disruptions in these kids' lives. That they want them to pick me and me to pick them.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
I cannot wait to meet him, Rachel. This is so exciting.
I know.
What an adventure of a lifetime.
It is an adventure of a lifetime. And funny enough, because I'm a single woman, I've had friends say to me, dating is going to be so much harder. How are you going to date? And I said,
it's actually going to make it perfectly easy.
Exactly. I said, first of all, I'm a sportscaster. Do you know what dating has been like being a sportscaster? I am like somehow the world's most intimidating woman. And I'm not. Like, I find myself to be very down to earth, very approachable, very talkative. But somehow when you're a sportscaster, there's this level of like, if you have any insecurity as a man, it brings it out. And so somehow I'm intimidating, and I am not intimidating at all. But you're right.
I think it's just you're confident.
Oh,
I think you're confident, and you know a lot about the man's world.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah,
which could be intimidating to a man.
But
not the right man.
Not the right man.
When actually you getting these kids is going to make dating so much easier, because if they don't get the full package, they're out.
They don't get it. And so when we sit down on that first date, or somebody sets us up and they go, "Oh, do you have kids?" Yep, I have 2, and they may look like me, they may not. And oh, were you married? Nope. Oh, well, and we'll eventually get there. I adopted them, and if just like my dad. If you don't want the package deal, you don't get me.
I love that. Oh, my God. That's so exciting. Okay. So back to sportscasting. So you started when you were 20 years old in college. You interviewed baseball.
Yeah.
Heavens parted. This is what you're doing. So then where do you progress? Because then all of a sudden you're on like all these national outlets, and you are like, and then were you the first woman you said that got the Heisman vote?
Not the first, but there's a few. There's just very, very few. There's 870 people that vote for the Heisman in the country, and I'd say less than either 10 or 5% of those are women.
Wow. So how'd you get invited? And how'd you get to the big leagues of the national?
I worked my butt off. And in this industry, if you stop working, you will get passed by. Like if I went into this 2016 football season, and I said, I don't really need to study. I know all about these teams. I know who those coaches. I would be found out. I talk for 3 hours about sports on the radio every show. You can't just get on there and wing it. You have got to have done research. You know the stories. You know the behind. They're depending on you for that. I'm the only female on this station. They made me the very first female host on SiriusXM College Sports Nation, and I cried. To me, it was one of my biggest professional accomplishments, because it's not for my face. It's in nothing but my knowledge, my ability to communicate. It's entertainment, bonding, knowledge of the game. And so I take it very seriously, but I work my butt off. I went local, Columbus, Georgia, regional. I moved to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, covered 2 national championships. And then I went to Birmingham, and then CBS Sports called and asked me to launch a station in Atlanta with the former Steelers quarterback Cordell Stewart. Was there for 9 months. And then Sirius called and wanted to make me the first female. And then I went to the ACC network and became a sideline reporter for 2 years, stepped away from that, and then went back to writing, which is my true calling at Gridiron Now. So now I'm a columnist at Gridiron Now, and I am a host for SiriusXM, and then I host for other entities like the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and the College Football Playoff, and
and then you have ACME Radio Live.
And then I have ACME
also,
and it's such a great outlet.
How did that happen? Because that's really not sports. I mean, I know you host with a former football player, and y'all do talk about sports, but like it's a Nashville lifestyle show.
You know what? That was an answer to a prayer, Caroline.
And it moved you to Nashville.
Yeah. So I'd moved here, and I was just going back and forth and traveling out of town. I had some friends here, but I had nothing to ground me here. And I prayed. I was like, God, give me something that will give me like in the roots of Nashville. Like, let me get to know the mayor and this artist and that artist, because I love music. And I just prayed for it. And along the way, this former Titans lineman that I work with at Sirius, Brad Hopkins, said, I'd love for you to do the show with me. And it's going to be on ACME Radio, and it's going to go out to 230 countries and provinces. And it's going to, it's going to be a big deal. Would you like to come on and do it with me? I was like, yes. Yes.
And ACME is the coolest place in Nashville.
Oh my gosh.
They have their own radio
Thank
show.
you.
I mean,
right?
What? And it was just
You've hosted with me.
I loved it. It was so fun. It was just easy for you, right?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like when things line up and they're easy, it's like you're walking in your destiny?
Absolutely. And I also think there are things that help us along the way that are almost like little gifts, like you've worked hard, and you've done this. And so I'm going to, and I think it was, like I said, it was an answer to a prayer for me. So now the coolest part of it, and I tell people this, like I get chills every time I say this, is when an artist comes in and they're not, so we have very well-known artists but then we have people that are just getting started. And when I have somebody in that's just getting started and I'm listening to them, closing my eyes, or maybe they've been around for a while and I know that they're going to make it, and we've done our tiny little part to like give them this platform, give them this link, and they're so excited and they're so grateful to have a tiny part in their story. I mean, your husband, you get this.
Yeah.
You've been a musician, you get this.
Yeah.
To have a tiny part in that, like I go home and I sleep so well, and I'm like, oh,
you're using your life to help others achieve their calling.
Yes. Isn't that amazing?
Yes. Who've been some of your favorite guests that you've had?
You, of course. Yes, of course. Well, we just have our personalities. We could talk for days.
Well, we met right away. It was like love at first sight.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, yes. I love her. Another gal I love, she's coming back on tomorrow. Her name's Laura Reed. Okay. And she is this 5-foot-tall dynamo, and she plays the ukulele. She plays the harmonica. And she comes out, she's always dressed in high heels, and like she works it. And she's like Aretha Franklin in a little white girl's body. Like, It's sick, and it's blues, and it's soul, and it's funk, and it's rock and roll, and she plays the guitar, and she is amazing. Like, she's amazing, and another great soul as well. Mm-hmm. And so, and then there's guys like Ivan Neville that I've known for 10 years, famous Neville Brothers and Dumpster Funk. Like, to see him and what he's done for New Orleans and the rebirth of New Orleans after Katrina, and just him talking about the musicians that, he grew up with playing piano in his living room. I'm like,
isn't it cool to hear the stories?
Yeah.
So tell me what you've learned about life from football and from hosting on radio, all these outlets. Like, what have you taken away from all this?
Yeah. Football is the ultimate team sport. So like today, in today's society, we got a lot of divisiveness and politics and, just violence in the world and stuff. And it's enough to make you really sad and drag you down big time. But what I've learned about football is that on a football team, there's black, white, pink, purple from all different socioeconomic backgrounds, right? Mm-hmm. From all different family lives. Couldn't be more different, but yet they all come together for this common goal. And I think we as a society can learn something from that. We can take something from that. Right now, where we're all kind of, a lot of people are butting heads. We got this faction fighting against this faction.
We're trying to separate.
We're trying to separate. If we would come together and just start this love revolution and just love on people, if a football team could do it with that many diverse backgrounds, why couldn't we?
Men with strong egos.
Right. Why couldn't we?
Yeah.
Why couldn't we? And so that's taught me, that's been very big for me.
Because you have to lay down your ego, really,
big time,
to be a great player on a team.
You do.
You can shine. You can be a shining star.
Yeah.
But you have to lay down your ego and work together.
Yeah.
Or else
absolutely.
you cannot win.
Yeah.
You can't win by yourself.
You can't. And so for me, as a worldview, I just think we have a lot to look for, in football, just in terms of life lessons. As for the radio, I just feel a sense of gratitude. Like every time I go on, I have this little thing that sits in my office and it says, pray and give praise before each show. I don't ever take it lightly. Like, I am the only female on that station, and
the Sirius,
on College Sports Nation, and I have so many young girls that that will tweet me and get in touch with me, and I'm just doing a job. But I don't ever let that go, how hard I've worked to get there. And it's not a sense of accomplishment, it's a sense of gratitude. And I think if you stay in that place of gratitude that I've worked hard to get here, but I got to keep working, and then you never get too big for your britches. And that's one big thing my mom always said is, don't ever get too big for your britches. Nothing uglier than somebody who's got a big head.
It's the worst. Well, and you can tell they're not using their platform for the higher good. I mean, they still could be accomplishing, but yeah.
They're not. They're wasting. And, when I'm going to speak to the football players at FSU, that's the thing I'm going to tell them. Like, you weren't given this platform for you. You were given it to help somebody, to pick somebody up, to teach somebody. It was for somebody else. It's not.
Gift.
It's
truly
a gift.
A gift.
You weren't given it to get the bins and the money and the hose.
And that's great if that comes and if you want that.
If that's what you want, but that's not what it's for. And it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. This life is not about material things. It's just not. Do I love that I'm a homeowner? Absolutely. Do I love that my car's about to be paid off? Love that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just not about material things. And at the end of the day, a friend of mine painted me a Loretta, this beautiful Loretta painting. I love Loretta Lynn. Huge fan. And at the bottom of it, in her handwriting, it says, if there's one thing I want to know, I want to know that somebody will miss me when I'm gone.
Wow.
And that's some lyrics.
You want to make a mark.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's me in a nutshell. Like, I don't, the material things, whatever.
That's so interesting. Like, someone will miss me. I'm thinking about that because it's not like I love myself so much, let me just keep adding to me. It's like you want to affect so many people that there's actually a void when you're gone because you touch so many people.
Yeah, that's it.
I love that.
That's it. Jackie Robinson said he was the first baseball player to integrate baseball, and what he went through was unreal. And he said our single greatest purpose on this earth is to influence another human being's life.
This is it. Why do we complicate it?
Why do we complicate it?
Because God's lost.
Yeah.
I feel like God's not at the core.
Yeah. We try to strip him away from everything.
And even in religion, God gets lost.
Yes.
It's dividing. And
it's finger pointing and you shouldn't do this. And
that's scary. Nobody wants to be judged.
It is. My God that I serve is love.
Me too.
And he's a wonderful God. And he loves us. And he wants to be close to us. And he wants us to want him. And so many people have pervaded and made it perverse and judged and been real ugly. And to a lot of people, and some people don't want my God, and that's very sad because if they knew my God and your God, they would love him. But the sense of God they have is the people that that point and
fit into a certain box,
or wouldn't move over in church, or you can't wear that to church, or you're sinning. I can't be friends with you, and when you're doing terrible things, sin is a sin. It's all equal.
We're all just trying the best we can.
Exactly.
Love. That's
love.
It.
Love,
Marley. Love is my religion. I swear. I
have a shirt that says that. I love it.
It is. I mean, love is the only religion.
Yes.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this because you. We've got to wrap because we've been talking so long. First off, you did TED Talk, which that is so awesome because that means you are like one of the coolest people in the world. You have arrived and you've got some serious wisdom to share. So talk to me about that, and then. You climbed Kilimanjaro. Yeah. And there was a movie made about it.
Yeah.
So those two things, and then we got to wrap up.
Yeah. So those two things are tied together. And in 2011, my life changed forever. I created a segment called Pay It Forward Friday on my radio show in Birmingham. And it was where we honor people in the sports world that were doing more with their life. And sometimes sports is supposed to be like the ultimate release. And sometimes sports can be heavy, and there's a lot of, scandals and things. And so sometimes sports is not happy. And so I created this segment, and somebody, her name's Lisa Horn at the time from Fox Sports, suggested this man named Kevin Turner. And I thought we were just going to do a phone interview. And he was like, no, I want to get down there. I want to come. And he was a former fullback for Alabama, for the Patriots and the Eagles. And he had just been recently diagnosed with ALS. He was in his early 40s. And it started in his hands because he was no longer able to play the guitar like he used to. And he came in, and I'll never forget it. I mean, my life just absolutely changed that day. But I felt sorry for him. Like, he needed help opening his soda and doing the volume on his headset. I didn't want to feel sorry for him, Caroline. I just did. And he started the interview. We went on the air, and he said, don't feel sorry for me. He said, you could step off a curb tomorrow and get hit by a bus. And he was talking right to me. He was talking to the audience, but to me. And he said, I got a second chance on life. I hug my kids. I say, I'm sorry. And so I just was a lifer. I was attached to him after that. I planned an event in Atlanta when I moved there. It went okay. And then as dreams often do, I went home one night and I was sleeping on the couch. I was watching this documentary on Kilimanjaro, and I was like, that looks miserable. I was like, it's not even pretty. I'm like, who does that? Like, that looks so miserable. And I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day, and I said, oh my gosh, we're going to climb for Kevin. Climb Kilimanjaro. I'm not a mountaineer. I'm like, what the hell?
Isn't that like the second largest mountain in the world?
It's the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. 19,000.
It's like Kilimanjaro and Everest.
Yeah.
So like,
yes.
Is Kilimanjaro cold?
Freezing. 19,341 feet.
You climbed to the top?
Yeah, we climbed the top. And I almost died. And a movie got made about it.
Are you insane?
I am insane.
Why? So tell me how this went down.
Well, so I called the head of the foundation, and I said, when she said, and I'll never forget it, she said, you're crazy, but you are kind of crazy. And I said, well, okay. And she said, let me call legal. Let me do all these things. Let me try. Let me see. She called back. She said, it's a go. So 9 more climbers came on that either knew Kevin or had ALS touch them in their life.
But no one's a professional climber?
No one's a professional climber. We got linked up to another sportscaster with a group that took us up they were guides. So we went to their village and we stayed with them. They got us ready. We had porters that carried our 90-pound backpack, tent, all of that. So we carried about 20 pounds. It took us 5 days up, 2 days down, but we ran into a blizzard at the top, and we had no crampons, no ropes, no special shoes, no nothing, and they made a decision to take us up, and it was a interesting decision considering one girl fell and had to be ice axe arrested, and then I fell and almost literally was within 50 to 100 feet of falling off of a side of a rock face and would have never been seen again. So my life flashed before my eyes.
What did you see when it flashed?
I really went back to being a kid, and I just reverted to almost a catatonic state. So all I had time to do was just to whimper. Before they'd put a last man on the climb. They'd put like a couple extra men on the climb that morning because we left at midnight. So you climb from midnight, you start at 17,000 feet, go up to 19,341, and then climb another 10 hours back to 10,000 feet. It's an 18-hour day. I've never been through anything like it. But when I slipped, I just whimpered, and I was sliding, and all of a sudden, the last man in the line, like if I'd slid past him, I would have died. He reached out and grabbed me around my rib cage area and just grabbed a hold of me and just smiled this big toothy grin, and my eyes got wide, and they got me upright.
So it was like Cliffhanger the movie, literally?
Oh yeah, literally. And they got me upright, and they took my backpack away from me, and we were on the side of the Western Breach, which is straight up and down. It's a rocky, like straight up and down, and it's scree, but it had snow on top of it, and it was in the dark, and it was still snowing, and it was a blizzard. So like we had to keep going. This happened 30 minutes into that. We had another 3 hours on the Western Breach. So they took my backpack, and I would take a step, and there'd be somebody in front of me and somebody behind me, but there was no path. So every step you didn't know if you were going to fall again. So
Rachel,
literally, I had to hold my bowels. I was worried about pooping my pants. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
And I sang hymns that I'd never sang before since I was a little kid. Like, that's where my mind went.
You were scared.
Oh, I've never, and there was no down. There was no out. There was no down to this. You're stuck. You go up or you don't go down. I mean, you can't stay where you are.
So you have to keep moving.
You have to keep moving.
Wow. What a metaphor for life, even when you're like in a blizzard of life.
I think about it all the time. We were hiking the other day. I was telling my mom and my brother, I said, if I'm going through something hard physically or emotionally, I always say, I climbed Kilimanjaro. I can do this.
So what happened when you got to the top and you got back? What happened with Kevin?
So we got up and then we made it down. We came back and
no one died.
And we raised $90,000 for ALS research. And we had decided to bring a movie maker, a producer that filmed the whole thing at the last moment, like 6 weeks out. And he started to make the movie, and he was a little slow, and that's okay because everything happens for a reason. Well, then they got Mike Ditka on board, the famous coach, Da Bears coach. And he's the head of Gridiron Greats, which takes care of former players. So Mike Ditka, this larger-than-life personality, ends up narrating the film because it was late.
So thank God it was late.
Thank God it was late. So he's narrated the film. So now, and it's still just, it is, I don't have kids yet. So it's the single most important thing I've ever done with my life. Like this tiny idea I had to climb this mountain turned into this expedition that turned into a movie that was narrated by Mike Ditka. And if you had told me that when I was 20, I wouldn't have believed you. Like, I wouldn't have believed you. And so the movie got made. Kevin
What's
saw
the movie called?
It's called Climb for Kevin. And so it got made. We screened it last summer. And then Kevin passed away this March.
Did he see the movie?
He saw the movie, and I got to watch it with him and his best friend that had played football with him and had been caring for him his whole life, and his new wife. His last gift God gave him, and I talked about this in my TED Talk, was he and his nurse fell in love.
They did?
Yes, they got married.
Kevin
and his nurse
was diagnosed with ALS and was dying, and he fell in love with his
nurse, and they got married.
Isn't his God's sense of humor sometimes? I'm like, what is wrong with you, God? But it's awesome.
And so he said, outside of his kids, that it was the greatest blessing that he ever had. And I just
having ALS,
having it because it led to her.
Oh, gosh!
I know.
There's always
she never would have met him. Yes.
There's always a silver lining.
Yeah, and so my TED Talk was about what if inside your greatest fear is your greatest blessing. And if you're willing to embrace it, if you're willing to, sure, Kevin didn't want ALS. Sure, it was the most horrific disease. But inside of it lied his Allie. That's where she was. And other than his kids, that was his greatest blessing. And the way they loved each other was so pure and so sweet and so beautiful. And so for me, my greatest blessing was going up a mountain for him and all the things I learned. And if I'd never gone through that and been too fearful to ever go up there, then I never would have realized those blessings. And currently for me, my greatest fear and my greatest calling is adoption. But I know that my greatest blessing, my kids, are inside of that. So if I am willing to step into the fear and dance with it and embrace it, it's a lesson for anybody. Your greatest blessing is there.
Wow. Dang, girl. I mean, that's like some serious business. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just processing all of that. That's amazing.
I know.
So if you were going to, I like to wrap up all of my interviews with Leave Your Light. Mm-hmm. You've had a very big life, a very like soulful life, a very passionate life, a very you've been in your life. Like you have lived your life.
I've lived my life.
What is your inspiration that you would like to offer someone listening to this from your life?
I think it is that TED Talk. I think the TED Talk in the essence is, you just got to embrace all parts of life, embrace it and find the lesson in it. The lesson from the TED Talk would be whatever it is you think you fear the most, whatever it is that scares you the most, more times than not, that inside of that is your greatest blessing. You just got to be willing to embrace it. As Tony Robbins said, dance with that fear, let that wave come in and ride it. And, I think there's a lesson in everything. I mean, we started this interview by talking about broken things. and broken things may stink, but there's a lesson in that, and the lesson for me was, that they're just things, and that's what I've been marinating on lately. So I just think if you wake up every day and you decide consciously, to live your life and to be present, the other greatest thing, one of the greatest joys I have is when I'm with my girlfriends or my family is listening.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I may leave somebody and realize I haven't really talked about myself, and that's like the greatest thing ever. Just to be present for people and be present for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel, you need to give more talks. Thank God you're on the radio and you can share your wisdom every day. So where can people find you?
They can go to @Rachel Baribeau. That's RACHEL BARIBEAU. And I always tell people, if you can't too much, you can just put in Rachel Sports and in Google, and you can find me that way. But at Rachel Baribeau on Twitter, RachelBaribeau.com, at Rachel Baribeau on Instagram.
And you're on Acme and Sirius Radio?
ACMERadiolive.com, and then SiriusXM on College Sports Nation.
Girl, you're doing it all.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Thanks for coming on my
Thank
show.
you. You're amazing.
Rachel Baribeau.